Jesus Christ is our living hope. Welcome again to this virtual gathering of First Evangelical Free Church. Our mission is knowing God and making Him known, and our passion is we are becoming disciples. We are living as a family of disciples. We are serving as disciples in our community, and we are sending disciples into the world. For the announcements this morning, I'd ask that you'd go to our website and click on the Bulletin and Inserts button and get those. There are some that you'll want to know about. There's a kind of a long announcement about women's ministries with a couple of things that are upcoming. And one of those has a deadline in about a week, so please pay attention to that. There is one announcement that is not in the bulletin. But if we would have had it when we were preparing the bulletin, it would have been in there. In fact, it would have been in the big three. In fact, it would have been first in the big three. I'm sure you've been paying attention to what's going on in the news, and this is the fact that this announcement isn't in the bulletin is an example of how things are changing rapidly with COVID-19. This week, Governor Noem announced South Dakota's Getting Back to Normal plan, and just Friday afternoon, the city of Sioux Falls introduced an ordinance that would allow certain businesses to go back to work at about 50% of their capacity. So they'll be considering that next week. So what does this mean for us? What does getting back to normal mean for us? Well, our first step, this is just the first step in our plan, is to resume our in-person Sunday morning worship services on May 17th. Well, that doesn't mean, though, that things are back to normal. It's just the first step. We won't be cold starting all of the things that we do at church. This is normal Sunday morning worship service only, and we will continue to live stream it. We will be considering phasing in other things that we do at church, probably beginning sometime around June 1st, but again, this will be a phase in. It won't be, let's just start everything back up again, because things are not back to normal. COVID-19 will go on for a long time. And on May 17th, when we get back together again, South Dakota will not yet even be at its peak. And Sioux Falls will probably be about at its peak. So this will be about the time when Sioux Falls peaks. There's still widespread community spread here in Sioux Falls. And I know it's not the answer for prayer that some of you were hoping for, but your kids will not be going back to school. Things are not back to normal. Most importantly is that vulnerable individuals are still vulnerable. If there's anything that's been clear with the coronavirus, it's that there are people who are at serious risk. And so we want to be concerned about and be careful about that demographic. Those who are over 65, those who have heart conditions, those who have respiratory problems, those with diabetes and other serious medical conditions. This has not changed. So then why are we meeting? Well, I'm sure you've heard that COVID-19 is going to go on for a long time. Some estimates are 18 months. Just heard one a couple of days ago of 3 years. So whether it's this fall or 18 months or 3 years from now, it's not reasonable to expect that churches will not meet together until this is all over. And so we understand that there are a variety of opinions in our church about meeting together. Some of us think this is no worse than the flu, and we should start right now. Let's call everybody up and get them to church this morning. Others and others think that, you know what, I'm one of those vulnerable people, and I don't care. I want to go to church. And on the other hand, there will be those who think that we are crazy for starting things up. So it doesn't really matter what you think about that at this time if we can listen to the Apostle Paul and learn from him when he says things like this: complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others as more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also the interests of others. And so as we do that, as we look towards the interests of others, our major concern on May 17th and beyond that will be for those people who are vulnerable to this virus and others that just can't risk being infected. They might be in healthcare or some other field that matters to them, that they stay free from this virus. So if you're sick, please stay home. If you have a family member who's sick, we ask you to stay home as well. You can join us on live stream still. When you come to church on May 17th, please keep washing your hands and maintain physical distancing the best we can. Now, we need to talk about that a little bit because in our worship service on May 17th, there's almost no way to maintain 6 feet of separation at all times. That likely won't happen, but we have to do the best that we can do, and so here are some of the things that we can do. First of all, we can avoid shaking hands. We can avoid hugging. We can learn to greet each other with a bow or a nod or verbally. Here are some other things. Sit together with your family and don't leave any open chairs between you and your other family members. The reason is this allows us to be able to put more distance between families. So if you're sitting in church or if you walk into church on May 17th, or if you just think about it now, if you've got 2 chairs next to you open, that's not 6 feet. If you have 3 chairs next to you open, that's not 6 feet. And so we will not be able to maintain 6 feet of separation at all times. In fact, if there's an open row in front of you and somebody's sitting in the second row, that's not 6 feet. So we will not be able to do that. So keep that in mind. And also because of that, we ask you to consider wearing a mask. Feel free to wear a mask. We encourage you to wear a mask and to think this way. Think like this. Think, you know what? It's really possible, because this happens, it's really possible that I have the virus and I don't know it because I'm asymptomatic. And so if we think that way and think that we don't want to infect others, we might act a little bit differently. Not so much that I might get it, but that I might give it to someone else. So again, we will not be able to stay 6 feet apart at all times. So if you're concerned about that, please feel free to stay home and continue to watch our live stream and participate that way the best you can. So this is not yet a return to normal. On May 17th, we will do things differently. We won't shake hands. And we won't be passing things from one person to another. We won't be handing out bulletins. We will not be passing offering plates. Also going to officially declare May 17th as Bring Your Coffee to Church Day, because we will not be serving coffee either. Avoid touching services when you come in. We'll have the sanctuary doors open so that you don't have to touch them. We'll ask you to come through the sliding doors in the front of the church. And remember, our goal is to protect the people who are at risk. So if you're sick, please stay home. Wash your hands and maintain the best physical distancing you can. And we encourage you to wear a mask and think that, you know what, it's possible I might have this virus and just not know it. So in summary, on May 17th, we will resume Sunday morning in-person worship. We will continue to live stream it. We will not be starting up all other programs in the church at that time. We will phase those in as we get a chance to evaluate them. And now I'd ask Pastor Randy to come up for our scripture reading, our prayer, and the morning message.